we have all scrolled through Instagram and looked at photos and thought, I have taken that same photo before. And for sports, that's the tight crop, right in the middle of action, blurred background, no distractions. And we think, how can we differentiate ourselves from those photographers? How can we stand out from the crowd? And one of the ways that you can do that is adding depth to your images. Depth allows you to give context to your shot, to frame up those shots, to get the athlete right in the middle of your frame. And for a lot of other genres of photography, they put a lot of emphasis on what's in the foreground. How does it add value to the actual subject that we're shooting? And for sports, we kind of ignore or put to the back of the burner the foreground or the depth we're trying to get and only focus on the one main subject. And for good reasons, because most of the times if they're going on graphics, we can't have anything in the foreground. But for those more creative shots that differentiates us from other people, one sports photographer from the next, is changing up that look and adding some depth and putting care into the foreground of your image. Looking at this photo now of a golfer I took this past summer, it's that traditional close, tight crop, her right falling through and catching the action. You can see her face fully. We got some grass flying up. Everything's pin tacked, sharp. The background's blurred out. But notice there's no frame. There's nothing in the foreground. It's just her, which is a nice quality shot. But look what changes as I originally took this shot. I have her framed up between a tree on the right and you can't really tell, but it was a golf cart on the left. And even if we missed that, there was another tree on her left framing her in. And even if we lose a little bit of this bottom, we get a little bit closer crop. But what differentiates it is we have care and focus about our framing. We have something in the foreground to give you context that, oh, she's in the middle of the tree. She's not in the middle of the fairway hitting her golf shot. She's getting out of some trouble. And we can see her with the ball now, because especially in these high intensity and fast-paced sports where the ball comes out quickly and a football pass, a basketball shot, and even in a slow-paced sport like golf, but when the ball flies out, it gets off your screen if you're zoomed in or cropped in like I originally was. Now we get more context. We get the ball in there. We get the frame. And it adds some more liveliness to your photo. So in that image, we gave a lot of thought to the frame around the photo. And now we're going to give some context to a frame plus adding that foreground element that we want to eventually develop and care about to establish a different look than most other photographers. And as you can see on the screen now of Tony Finau, we get the foreground element of two people. So I'm shooting through fans here at the BMW Championship, fan in the red shirt and the white shirt on the right. And it's important that you give careful consideration to what you should shoot through and where you shoot through. Because like I mentioned before, the foreground is what leads the viewer in their frames, and it has to give context. So in this case, there's the context of the fans watching Tony Finau. If I just did it of a rope, then that really doesn't add context or give value to the viewer. Instead, I add that there's fans there. He's playing in a crowd. There might be a big chip. That adds context. And as you can see now, if we cut out the two of them, it's not a bad shot of Tony Finau, but it's nothing special. Now, if we go back to original shot, we get more of a frame first off, so it leads the viewer in, and we get a little bit more context. Now, as we continue developing these skills and putting them together, we get more aware of what we are looking for. So now, as you can see, we have both context and focus going through the image and the foreground. We see that this is clearly the first tee because we're shooting past the tee marker. We see that there's fans because you can clearly see their phones and hats hats, even though they're blurred out. We got fans in the background. And then it all leads you, even if we did a different crop, to John Rahm. Like if I got rid of the fans up top, you could still tell that this are fans here watching him ready to tee off and he's locked in. And without that, it would just be him staying into blankness. I couldn't tell you if it was the fifth tee, the first tee, if he was just in an interview waiting on the side of the road. Nope, now we got fans, now we got the first tee, now we got John Rahm, and it adds more value to the viewer now. And this doesn't necessarily have to just be for golf shots too. For example, if you do it in just everyday lifestyle street photography, we're shooting through a tree and we can see that it's framed here nicely. This maybe doesn't add as much value as the previous John Rahm image where we can see fans and give context to what's happening. This is more just a frame. If I lost the frame, I don't know if it would be a worthwhile image to share. It would just be some person with an umbrella on a sunny day. But adding the frame kind of draws the viewer in a little bit more, and it can even be transferred to different sports like basketball. So for example, here we got the fans' hands in the way, and going back to golf but not a golf shot, is we got fans and him spraying the bottle. Well, it's just a great shot because his expression and all the detail, we still get that we're shooting through fans. And I would argue that adding this depth stops you scrolling just for a half a second. It takes more to stop somebody on Instagram fully, and that comes down to the subject matter, the sport matter, what you're shooting. Is it sharp? The edit. The edit's a very important thing. That's why my previous video I talked about why we should re-edit our old photos to develop that style. But it's all accumulates in the final product, and one of those steps is taking care about your foreground elements and framing up your actual subject. And by doing that, we allow a viewer's eyes to easily get directed to the subject, while also providing just a little bit more value to the end image.